once you see the on air. Yeah, we are good to vibe. Go ahead. Guys, not so kosher. We're really stoked right now. Dan Israel, songwriter, currently based in Minneapolis. His song Come to Me won Song of the Year in 2005, Minnesota Music Awards. 2006 named Songwriter of the Year. City Pages named you the best acoustics performer, 2005. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Israel, thank you so much for coming in today. Just want to remind people at home, if you are listening, we are recording this portion, which is going to be coming up pretty soon in a couple of weeks. Dan, thank you so much for taking time to come in today on this Hallows Day. Tell us real quick, first question, big plans for Halloween?
Huge plans, just huge.
What do you got going on?
Paint the town. No,
Orange.
I'm going to trick or treat with my kids for a half hour.
Are you
I
ju-
don't, you know,
Are you
they want to
dressing
trick or treat on their own too. They don't want dad the whole time. So
Well, it's such an honor for us to have you. You kind of class up our not so kosher today, but we're gonna thank you so much again. We love that we have. It's kind of like a celebrity for me because I've listened to your music for a long time. I'm a St. Louis Park guy. Grew up in
it's
St.
like
Louis
a
Park.
celebrity.
Well, I feel like
No, you're our local celebrity.
Thank you.
Dan,
Appreciate that.
2+ decades in the industry. Give us some perspective on that.
I've lost all perspective. I just keep doing this. I don't know what propels me anymore, other than just
Feels good?
It feels good to play music. It feels good to get out my everything, all my emotions in music, and then it also gives me like a purpose, to put out a new album. It's like it's like having a baby, except
Ooh.
Except it's not like having a
Doesn't
baby.
quite hurt as much, probably.
I don't even purport to know what that's like, but I have seen it up close, and yes. Anyway.
Dan, I have a big question for
Yeah.
you. Well, I know the audience can't see you, but you are like so super hot.
Oh.
And, I just kind of like wonder, what do you do? Like, how do you handle all the men and women and everybody else pawing at you? Is it rough? I mean,
I don't even know how to answer that because, first of all, it doesn't happen.
Second of all,
come on now.
that was my question.
because you really.
that was my next question.
But it's
Sorry.
really nice of you to suggest that I'm attractive.
Oh,
And,
hot. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Whoever's got you is damn lucky.
I'm on the Dan Israel diet, which is
Tell us, Bobby and I always want to know.
work a full-time job, have a music career, have 2 young kids, commute 2 hours a day, and run around like crazy your whole life.
Where are you commuting to?
I work in St. Paul and I live in St. Louis Park. I've worked at the Capitol for almost 20 years, so that's my day job is at the state Capitol.
Well, I'm going to have to give you the shortcut way to do that.
Underground,
2 hours,
is
yeah,
it?
just
Or-
about. Well, we have a subway that no one knows about.
Well, I'd like to hear more about that. Yeah, 2 hours. That's a little exaggeration.
Yeah.
But I'm in my car a lot, so
That
it's okay.
sucks. It sucks.
It's alone time for
Yeah,
me too.
it's good. You probably think and do some good thinking.
I
and
do
it's
good thinking.
Good. I know that your musical career started with you being a little pianist, and then
Careful there.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to be careful, and then I have to say slowly so I don't screw that up.
Small pianist or big pianist?
A big pianist, I
Okay.
think.
I was young, so
Well, you're Jewish though.
yes.
Then you
I don't
found.
know.
Then you found the beauty and the sounds of the guitar. Are there other instruments that you play? I know that you do some harmonica, but
Yeah. I'm an amateur harmonica player. I've played some bass on my records, and I played one record. I even played drums. That wasn't necessarily the greatest drumming you've ever heard on a record, but I kind of liked it. It was fun. That was my self-titled album. It came out 10 years ago. Wow, now. But
That's cool.
But no, I took piano lessons as a kid, and then I really wanted to play guitar, so I got somehow we found this sort of hippie woman who lived above, like over by the Park Theater.
Was she fully dressed when she
She
was
was
teaching
always
you?
fully dressed.
Okay, that's a good
yes.
thing because sometimes I know that's an
But
issue.
she was perhaps slightly in the world of alternative living, but I don't really know. I was young, so I don't really know. But she taught me "Space Oddity" by David Bowie.
Cool. So you were.
I remember that. I don't think I had a big crush on her, but
Okay.
But
You'd probably
it was
remember.
still a little strange being 11 or 12 years old and going to this woman's apartment for private guitar lessons.
Ooh,
but
it sounds
it
sexy
sounds
to me.
really sexy. it was kind of sexy.
So Dan, if you could be a musical instrument, what would you be, and who would you want to play you?
Well, I would be a guitar. I wouldn't stray from my favorite instrument. I would still want to be a guitar.
Who would you want to stroke
Who would I
you
want
or,
to
no,
play me?
How do yeah, okay.
Jimmy Page comes to mind.
Oh,
Jimmy Page.
excellent.
You guys are the
would-
music
Excellent.
ones.
Zeppelin.
Okay,
I would. I think Keith Richards, Pete Townsend, Jimmy Page, those the classic Dave Gilmour. I don't know.
That's
all
kind
those
of cool.
kind of
I
great.
love that. I love that.
I could say a Beatle too, but Beatles for me
Which
is more
one?
about songwriting than guitar playing. Even though George was phenomenal, so.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Little-
Thank you
little Jimmy
for
Page
telling us
there.
about that. Thanks for the background down there, G.
Very
Love
nice.
that. Can you share a
Mm-hmm.
story with us of what happens when the bar closes and the girls are hanging out in the back alley?
I don't remember that happening too much, but
Really?
But sometimes people have had a lot of alcohol at bars.
Shocking.
So I suppose there have been times in my life where that was sort of you could maybe describe the post-show scene as slightly debauchery.
Is that you,
But
Bobby?
these days, it's not nearly as wild and crazy as people perhaps imagine it to be.
I got to say that, being that you weren't quite familiar with Bobby when you saw his face tonight, he was one of the ones in the back alley waiting.
Well, I think I maybe more recognized him
now?
from some sort of lineup or something, but no, just kidding.
Check, please. Well, here's a good segue
I'm just
because at the end of the night, closing time, I just wanted to know if, like, you and Dan Wilson have ever collaborated, talked about a collaboration.
I've met Dan. Yeah. I like Dan. He's a great guy. Obviously, he's done sort of well for himself.
But St. Louis Park
in St. Louis Park, we could talk all day just about what's
Yeah.
the deal with St. Louis Park. Like,
Yeah.
why
so many talented people.
Why is St. Louis Park?
It's the water.
Some people have said the water. I think let's
Everybody
be
knows
honest. There's
each
a lot
other.
of Jewish people from
I was
St.
gonna say,
Louis
all the
Park.
great Jewish
but
people.
Dan Wilson. The Wilsons are an exception to that. Not everybody notable from St. Louis Park is Jewish, but then again, maybe there's that influence, and I bet Dan would even acknowledge that growing up amidst that sort of environment with a lot of creative, like intellectual type, funny people, probably had a big influence on everybody, not just the Jewish people growing up in St. Louis Park. Somehow you get that environment that somehow sparks this, whatever it is. I can't explain it. It's amazing.
Did you ever get into Trip Shakespeare at all?
Oh yeah, I love Trip Shakespeare.
That was
Yeah,
amazing.
I went to school in Chicago, so we went to Northwestern, and we would go down to Cabaret Metro and see Trip Shakespeare. And
Awesome.
actually, I think a couple times we missed the opening act, which I later found out was the Jayhawks, which I should have been there to see the Jayhawks, because I didn't know who they were back then. But
Again, Mark Perlman. St.
yeah,
Louis Park.
again, yeah.
Oh, that's
and
right.
and Run
Wow.
Westy Run
Yes.
and Peter Himmelman and on and on.
The list goes on.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing. And then Al Franken and the Coen Brothers, and
Yeah.
Tom Friedman. I mean, what the heck?
Exactly.
Don't
After-
forget Mark Rosen.
Don't forget Mark Rosen is right.
Stop.
Bob-
Don't forget Bobby Schnitzer.
Thank you.
Don't forget Bobby
didn't say
Schnitzer.
that.
Don't. But
A lot of cool people.
Yes.
Definitely.
Done a lot of research. A couple things that stood out for me is you're a big baseball fan.
yes.
Would that include your local team, or is this
Oh,
just been
the
a
Twins?
Yes.
I bleed Twins. I follow every game at least partially on radio, partially on TV, partly on my phone now, but I always know at any given time if the Twins are playing, I will probably be able to tell you what the score is. I'm more than a little obsessed.
That's all. We got one goddamn hit.
You can't say goddamn on the air.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
What a great season for them. Nobody would have expected
It was
that.
really a really fun season. It
And,
was
yeah, it's gonna
a
in the
nice
next couple
turnaround.
Years, next couple of years are gonna be huge.
Yep.
So it had been a huge honor for you to be one of the showcased
oh,
musicians.
that was like one of the best nights of my life. I mean,
Tell
to
us
get
about
to-
that.
I love
Well,
that.
we basically just sort of entered a contest, I guess, through I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was through the radio station. But we got selected to play August 28th, 2013. I know the date at Target Field, and my kids were there with me, and it was just such a thrill. I mean, they got their butts beat that game, actually, so they didn't play that well. But my son likes to remember, this is probably my favorite memory, other than just being there with my kids and having that opportunity to do that. But during warm-ups, Trevor Plouffe turned around and he was like dancing to our sound check, and then he turned around and gave me a huge thumbs up. So it was like, Plouffe likes me.
You've made it.
I've made it. I guess he has a band, or he plays guitar, I heard. So he actually kind of knows a little about music. But
that's super cool.
So that was very cool, and yeah, it really truly was one of the highlights of my life to get to do that. And I hope maybe we'll get to do it again sometime. And I also got to throw out the first pitch. I won another contest.
Wow.
And so last year, it's on YouTube.
That's awesome.
We'll check
Dan
it out.
Israel throws out I threw a slow, hanging curveball for a strike.
Yes.
Love that.
Wasn't exactly a heater, but
Were you athletic?
Got it over the plate.
Were you athletic growing up?
I think if anyone growing up with me listening to this would have to set the record straight. No.
So the position you
Oh.
played was left out.
Left out. That
Oh,
was, yes,
that one.
often was my. Well, I wasn't terrible. I wasn't
wrong one.
terrible. I was an okay hitter in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
My fielding skills were probably a little less impressive. But my son is a really good young baseball player. So maybe
Sometimes it just-
he got it from the other side. Who knows?
Yeah, it just takes another generation to go through.
It might. Yeah.
So Dan, do you find that you do your best songwriting when you're in a sexual relationship with somebody, or when you're not?
I think I guess, to be honest,
Does it make the juices flow?
I think that you tend to write more when you're alone.
Oh, really?
Maybe.
Like,
Isolated.
Well, I mean, some writing comes out of pain, and some of that pain is loneliness, and so sometimes one writes more when one is, living a monk-like existence. But
Interesting.
that's not always true. I mean, I was married for 16 years, and I would call it a sexual relationship because it was, and I wrote a lot of songs, a lot of good ones during that time. So I don't think there's a hard and fast answer.
Very good, Dan.
Sorry.
God, you're hot when
He
you
said
say that.
hard.
He did.
And
fast. So Jewish.
You
So-
yes.
oh, so
F-
how-
Am I sort of a Jewish cliche already with
Yeah,
the
I
music and the
love it.
baseball and
I love
I think
it.
I am. I think I'm a little bit of a Jewish cliche, but
You are.
I don't mind being a Jewish cliche. There's worse cliches to be.
That is so true. So how crazy is it being listed in the Wikipedia? I mean, is that been a dream of yours since childhood?
Well, if Wikipedia were around when I was a child, it would have been.
More like Encarta.
But if I could make it to the Encyclopedia Britannica, now that
See, I forgot about that already.
that's-
Isn't that
yeah,
awful?
it's already pretty much gone.
Maybe we
That's
should have
crazy.
Jukepedia. And maybe
Jukepedia.
Maybe
I think there's
probably
actually some
is.
anti-Semites who do have Jukepedia.
Lovely.
So
Ouch.
Pass.
maybe we'll
Pass.
skip it.
If you had a dream venue, what would that be?
I want to play a stadium someday. Why not dream big, right?
Dude.
I mean, let's start with an arena. I'd like to headline, the hockey basketball arena type, XL or Target Center. Let's just go with that.
I'm sorry, don't we think the Twin Stadiums?
Well, I mean,
that's
yeah,
on that
that
level,
would-
man.
I mean, and that's the thing, that I'm not at all nearly close to big enough name to actually play a concert at Target Field, but to get to play at a Twins game like that, you could pretend that you were. And there were a lot of people there. So.
I'm curious, how do they
Yeah.
sound check for that? With that sort of,
Just before people kind of get there, you're sort of starting early.
that blow your mind though. That sort of
Yes, it
comparison
does
to
blow your mind.
Like you're at
Yeah, that it's echoing,
Yeah, how
rippling.
freaking
Yeah,
cool.
but I've had other shows that were more nerve wracking and more really more daunting than that. I mean, I've had some shows where I've because that was with my band too. Like when I have to go out and play solo in front of like a theater crowd, that to me is more, daunting. 'Cause I played at like the Guthrie and the Fitzgerald, and I opened for some people there, and Loudon Wainwright the third. I opened for
Right.
him at the Guthrie. I opened for Kevin Costner, the actor, at the Guthrie.
Wow.
We hung out.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah, we talked. Kev and I.
Cool.
Do you go through a ritual before your shows?
I call him Kev.
Kev,
Not to
that's
his
your vibe.
face.
You guys
of
have that
course.
vibe.
Yeah. Dances with wolves.
What take us through like before a show? What do you do before a show?
Few shots of vodka.
Awesome.
Wow.
No, I don't.
Not
Not
so awesome.
necessarily, but alcohol. You can see where people get kind of into alcohol as a performer because it does have a tendency
Calming.
to kind of loosen you up a little bit.
Liquid
But
courage.
Yes,
Liquid
that's right.
courage.
That's right. So a big solo show, I might have a couple of drinks. Sure.
Beck and I were talking before we met with you. We were so curious to know sort of the difference between when you're playing solo or when you're with your band.
Yeah.
The different energy, the collaboration.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, a band, you have some cover. You're not like naked out there, you know. Playing solo, there's just absolutely no margin for error. So if you screw up, you just kind of have to own it and go on. I mean, with a band, yeah, you can screw up too, but a band, you tend to kind of, or at least I do, I tend to kind of, my energy focuses a little more like towards them on the stage too. So sometimes I think it's a different thing for the audience because I'm like not directly right there with the audience as much. I think it's maybe a little more.
I can see it would be easier.
Yeah, I think it's a little easier, but then at times I kind of like I'm a kind of a control freak, so having just my guitar be the only thing I'm responsible for and my voice, that kind of feels good too.
But I suppose it's disturbing when like everybody's looking not just at your package, but
Yeah.
like at everybody else.
That's right. I only want
Yeah.
them looking at mine.
Yeah, so that I
actually.
can get where you do the naked stuff a lot. You know?
Yeah, I
Ladies
don't
and
actually
gentlemen, Becca.
perform naked.
Oh,
but,
that's right.
I've never tried that. Though I think the guitar would probably.
It could cover it good. That's like the
be-
dude in Central Park, or no, in whatchamacallit, Times Square.
Oh,
the
yeah.
naked cowboy. Not really,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
kind of covers it up.
Yeah, kind of.
Can you so
Gotta be
you
careful,
know,
though.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true. So one thing that I found kind of interesting was the whole vinyl, like vinyls, like are coming back.
Yeah, I did a
Is
vinyl.
How weird is
thing.
that? Or
Yeah,
is that-
it's cool. I mean,
Is it?
it's I did this Kickstarter thing a couple of years ago, and then that raised a bunch of money. Kickstarter's like crowdfunding thing.
Yep.
So people were very generous, and I was able to put out I wasn't even intending to put out vinyl, but I ended up putting out a best of vinyl, 2 albums called Danthology. So if people want to look for Dan Israel, Danthology, if they want to hear me on vinyl, 2 albums.
Oh, that's so cool.
All
See it.
my biggest hits, all the ones that went straight to the top of Billboard.
Cool. Do you had a couple of you've had a few bands like so you had One Town Horse and you
Yeah.
had Pottersfield. Like I'm kind of curious. Me personally, I didn't know if Bobby was that curious, but I just like wondered where the names came from.
Oh.
Like I could get the collaborators.
Yeah,
but
one Town Horse.
Cultivators,
That
whoa,
was
what
just
was that? Wow, sorry.
One Town Horse. That was my band in Chicago when I was in college. That was just flipping one horse town around and being goofy. Pottersfield. It had a lot of Pottersfield is actually like a graveyard for poor people or dispossessed or what. Yeah, that's the technical definition of what a potter's field is. So I've seen that phrase quite a bit ever since in hindsight, I wish we would have given ourselves a little more obscure name than that because I've seen the phrase come up quite a bit.
Right.
And we were just trying to be dark and brooding, I guess. But Cultivators, yeah,
That's an easy one.
that was my band name for a long time. That was supposed to be positivity mixed with winking, reference to herbal substances. So
Love all three of them.
Yeah.
You guys are listening to us on live and social network. We are Not So Kosher. We have a really cool guy, Dan Israel, who is going to be playing a song coming up in a little bit. He also brought in some music. We're going to listen to that. Thank you again so much for coming into our program.
Yeah, thanks
Tell
for
us,
having me.
Your kids, do they know
What I do?
Yeah, I mean, like, are they influenced by that, or do they know what a big deal it is?
Yeah, my son, especially. Well, my son is 10 and my daughter's 7. My son, they're both very bright, and he's especially pretty aware of what I say, well, your daddy, sometimes I'll kind of explain, I didn't get such and such gig, went to somebody else. I said, I'm not that famous. He'll be like, no, Daddy, you are. You are so famous. So it's really cute.
Do they play?
But yeah, he's been taking trumpet lessons and getting good, and my daughter's taking piano lessons and getting really good.
Perfect.
So they've got
There's
the
your
music
band.
in them.
There's
Yeah,
your
they
next
love
band.
music, and I think we were going to try to get a karaoke machine this winter to get us through the winter because they love singing to popular songs. So, but I've gotten them into classic rock. I've gotten them off of just the pop music and into the Who and stuff. So
Wow,
I'm very proud of that.
That's interesting,
Yeah.
isn't it? Do you have like a favorite go-to song for your, when you do karaoke? Are you a karaoke player? A
I
singer?
don't have a go-to karaoke
Okay.
song. I mean, I cover so many songs, but it would be the Stones, I'm sure, if I had to just pick something.
I would imagine you
Beast
could
of
go.
Burden,
You could do
you know.
any Tom Petty too.
I love my Petty.
I knew you.
I'm
loved
a
your
Petty freak. You
I was
can
going to
tell.
ask who's your rock hero? Who's
Yeah, I
your,
think Tom Petty. I've often said if you distill down everything that I love about Beatles, Dylan, Stones, everything, then if it all were crystallized into one artist, the best representative would be Tom Petty.
very cool.
Of everything I like musically, the Byrds, REM, all that jangly kind of. I love that jangly rock.
So if you could do any duet with any person in the industry, who would be your partner? Who would you like to collaborate with?
If I could just pick anybody, do they have to be alive?
Alive or dead?
Oh,
Ooh,
because then I would probably want to consider John Lennon.
Very cool.
interesting.
Very cool.
If I could, yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah,
Imagine that.
Yeah, very good.
Had to do
Very
that.
good.
But as far as somebody alive, either McCartney or Dylan or Keith Richards.
So
sorta-
when I listen to you, I hear so much of Himmelman and Dylan.
Yep.
And I think that you should think about the three of you doing an
Me
album.
and Peter and Bob.
Yeah, you'd be the
I
three
will-
twins, and then you could add a splash of Westerberg in there.
I would love that. Would be the ultimate supergroup for me.
There you go.
Peter and Bob. Oh, and then Westerberg. Yeah. Well,
Look
that
at
would
that.
that would be a supergroup. I mean, without me, it would be plenty super. But
No, I think we should
I
work
would
on
love to
that.
be involved. So
Yeah, I think there
I-
should be an album put together for that, a vinyl.
I think it would go crazy gangbusters. So let's.
It would.
You
Well, I'll
tell.
work on that.
You talk to your people.
Okay.
I can only talk to Peter because I don't really know the other guys.
Have
But,
you ever met Dylan?
Yes, sort of. I have a weird story about that. Do we have? I can
Yes,
make
we
it
Yeah,
quick.
go for it,
absolutely
man.
have time for a weird story.
When I moved to Austin, Texas in '92 after college, I moved down there to start Pottersfield, that band. And I started working at this temporary job, and this woman from the job one night, she said, "Come down to this building by the University of Texas campus. Come down there, and I can't even tell you anything else. Just come down there." I didn't even know what I was coming down there for. And there's this huge line down the block, and it turned out it was the Austin City Limits Studios, and it was Willie Nelson's 60th birthday party being recorded for CBS television. And she pulled me out of the back of the line. I jumped a block's worth of line to get in, and I got in, and that Bob was there and Paul Simon was there, and it was crazy.
That's
and so
amazing.
I, like an idiot, I handed Bob like my demo tape at one point in the evening.
Wow.
And then like I guess it was like his bodyguard just took it out of Bob's hand and gave
Threw
it
in the
back to
garbage.
me.
Oh, my
no. Oh, no.
But it did make a round trip to
There you
Bob
go. He
for a
touched
second.
it.
And then I stood next to him as he was interviewed. And that interview I've gone back and watched because it was part of the telecast.
Ooh,
Wow.
So I'm almost in the Bob Dylan interview.
I love that.
And I met Willie that night.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We
Very
need
cool.
to get you to meet. We need to get you to Dylan. That would be nice.
I would
it be
like
fun?
to. I would like to meet Bob, but I mean, I think that anytime you meet your heroes, you're gonna be like. It's almost like cooler that I haven't,
Right.
in
I
a
get
way,
that.
That's true,
directly
right.
met him. But it's possible, it's possible that maybe he's seen like one of my covers I've done of one of his songs because they're on YouTube. You never know.
It's true. And
Neighborhood Bully, that song off Infidels, it's had like 14,000 views on YouTube. So maybe one of them was Bob.
Awesome.
We're going to have you do a song here in a little bit, but to finish this out, let's hear about your latest album that just came out.
Yeah, it's I'm excited. It's called Dan. I really worked hard on the title.
Can you spell that for us, please?
The thing is, that's the beauty of it. I don't have to for your average. It's
true.
And the cover, people can't see it here, but there's a reason the cover is. It's hard to explain. You'd have to Google. Joyce Drake. Joyce Drake.
Oh, it came from her from the Turf Club?
Well, no. There's a woman named
Leah.
Joyce Drake. That was my previous album. Leah did the cover. Leah Rule. But yeah. Joyce Drake was a Christian artist in the 70s, and her album cover looks like my album cover, but it's called Joyce. So if people Google Joyce Drake, they'll see where we got the
So that was totally
idea.
one of my
It was
questions.
a parody.
Because I didn't get that. And
Yeah,
then on the video, I'm
a lot
like,
of
you're
people aren't
holding
getting
the
it. I know.
Daisy the whole time.
But it made this list of worst album covers that was circulated.
Honey. I think it's super, I thought it was just being dorky. I thought
It
there was
is
some
dorky.
dorkiness to it. Because
It
it
is dorky.
totally gives you that.
You
It's
guys
got
will-
a dorky vibe.
You'll be able to go to our Facebook page, and we'll have that up, and you can check it out. You sort of look like it's like
Sad.
Well, I don't want to say.
Yeah,
I don't
I
wanna
look
say
thought
that.
so.
hapless and pathetic.
I was
I
more.
thought so.
I was more looking at your chest, but that's
Yeah.
Whoa.
it's a nice shot of you.
It looked
Thank
like a
you.
pimp. You kind of look
I look pimped
like
out.
Pimp. Yeah, totally. Yep. Pimp
But
Dan.
but yeah, and that's a fake Kmart sticker. Let's
I
let's
love
hope
that.
they don't.
On the back of Kmart, our
That's
price.
cool.
$357.
May,
I love that.
may we get sued for it. It'd be the best publicity we ever
Exactly.
There you go.
You guys, this has really been an honor for us to have you in the
thanks.
studio.
Thank you.
We'd love for you to play a song.
Thanks. I hope I haven't, bored people to tears, and I will
No,
be glad to play a song.
Fabulous.
All right, coming up, we're going to have Dan Israel playing for us one of his songs. It's "You Don't Love Me Anymore," and we'll come back shortly for that. And then Becca, you just
Come out used to me. Have to be but not to see. There's nothing here worth salvaging. You might as well go pawn that ring. I'm not clueless. We can't get through this. Tears I had to stop keeping score. If you don't love me, if you don't love me, if you don't love me anymore. Used to laugh at inside jokes. Have a beer, I'd have my smoke. Grew up fast with two cute kids. Life felt hard, but life felt lived. I tried to own this. Now I'm homeless, sometimes broken down to the core. If you don't love me, then you don't love me. You don't love me anymore. I follow that rainbow to the ground. Pot of gold I never found. passing time. Nothing's gonna change your mind. We had so much left to share. I won't try if you don't care. And I'm moving on now. That life is gone now. Nothing will be like it was before. You don't love me. You don't love me. You don't love me anymore. 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 Anymore.
Fantastic. Or I should say Dan-tastic.
Fantastic.
Dan Israel,
you.
everybody. That was,
Wow.
and I
Thank
just
you.
want to
Thank
say
you,
this
Dan.
really quick. A quick shout out to my
Fabulous,
friend Jeff
Dan.
Kleinbaum, who was instrumental, no pun intended, to help this happen, to get off the ground. And one of my big dreams for the show was to feature local music. So, Dan, you're our first actual in studio.
I'm honored.
Absolutely appreciate it.
Extremely honored.
If you are okay, if you have a few more minutes,
Sure.
we would like to play a little game. We're always
Sure.
doing little segments on the show. We have a thing called Kosher or Not So Kosher.
Okay.
And we would love for you to play this version with us.
Okay.
It's pretty simple. You are
You
now.
actually have to know if these things are. Oh, it's actual.
So we're going to
Okay.
decide.
Sometimes.
We're going to decide. I'll throw something out there.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And we'll ask you if you think that's kosher or not so kosher.
Okay. All right.
So this is my favorite little thing.
Okay.
He puts in this little. Don't you feel like dancing? I feel like I'm at a bar mitzvah or a wedding. All right, you
Too bad
guys.
we don't have mitzvah
I know,
magic
exactly.
tonight.
That. Mitzvah magic.
Usually I get you a little schnockered before you play.
Are you going to put that recipe up on?
You should, yes.
All right, you guys. First item up on kosher or not so kosher: candy corn mixed in with Planters peanuts. Dan, we'll let you go first if you
Dan.
think that's kosher or
Look
not
at
so
that
kosher.
face.
It's just not. It's not so kosher.
Oh.
And why is that?
Not technically, but it's gross.
It's
I don't
just
get
gross,
It.
everybody.
I don't get it.
Beck?
I think it's kosher.
Really?
Yeah, because it's the salt and the sugar together that kind of gets me hot. I love that shit together.
Grant knows
You
all
saying-
things salty
Yeah,
and
right?
sweet.
I know.
You saying that got me hot. I'm
I know.
kosher.
right?
Kosher for sure.
All right, next up on for kosher, not so kosher, Bloody Marys. Bloody Marys.
I think they're kosher.
Love the bloody.
No.
No, not
It'd
so
ha-
kosher for you.
It would have to be, well, because you got the Mary on there. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
That's
you have
true.
to go like
and a big
kosher
sausage stick
Rivka.
too.
I mean,
kosher Rivka. I mean, bloody Rivka. Oh, gross.
God
Check
almighty.
it out. Bloody Rivka.
even blood. I mean, when you think about it, Bloody Mary.
It's kind of nasty. Where do you
Yeah,
think
It's
that
really
came
weird.
from?
Yeah.
All right, that's fair
really
enough.
weird.
Not so
Wait,
kosher
Grant.
for me. I'm going to say screwdrivers. If I'm having vodka in the morning, it's a screwdriver, which is not very often, but that's
Very cool.
Screwdriver.
Ooh.
For those of you playing at home, chime in anytime. Tweet us at Not So Kosher. Here's one for you. You're at the office, and you come across this Swiss Miss Cocoa packets.
With marshmallows
Yes.
or not?
Kosher or not so kosher?
Yeah, kosher.
Why not, right? Yum.
With vodka.
Well, Bailey's.
Bailey's I
Bailey's.
did
Bailey's.
last time. That was badass.
Grant, what do you think?
Sounds
Kosher
pretty
with
good.
little baby marshmallows.
God,
Okay,
we're on a
wow.
roll today.
Where are you at?
Well,
It's okay. Here's one. High-fiving your boss. Is that
Ew.
kosher or not so kosher?
Not so
No.
kosher. That's no.
I'm
Right?
with Dan on
Never.
that one.
You don't hide. No.
No.
You bump?
Awkward.
we here at Alive
That-
and Social, we high five. We're
Oh, do
cool.
you? Okay.
We've got some cool bosses around
All
here.
right.
If you have a cool boss, but you know who has a
A
okay,
suit
you have
dude's
a cool
probably
boss.
not gonna.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a good one. All right, how about this one? Halloween parties. Halloween parties.
I don't go to them. I don't really go to parties, so not so kosher for me.
Well, what's comical is I right away think of children.
Mm-hmm.
I have adult children at this point, but we would have Halloween parties so that you wouldn't have your kids out there getting
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
hurt or
Yeah.
taken.
Sure.
Or so I'd say kosher. Mm-hmm. I'd go with kosher.
I like to stay at home. I'm a hermit.
Oi.
No, not so kosher.
One of my favorite things a couple years ago when Franken was running for Senate, we took all of his signs, and for Halloween, I was a Franken sign. And it was pretty clever. Not a lot of people got it,
I like it.
but I thought it was absolutely clever. Franken sign, everybody.
Got it.
Is this thing on?
That was
Check.
good. That was good.
Okay, how about this
I like
one?
it.
Chicken liver with bacon wrapped around it.
Whoa.
And I just came up with a brilliant invention, and I'm loving it. How about an egg McMatzah? Egg McMatzah, kosher or not so kosher?
So okay, we'll get.
Yeah.
I don't like chicken livers,
But
and
you
I
know,
don't-
back in the day at the Nankin, that was one of the
Yeah.
most popular. It was called Ramaki.
It was
Oh, okay.
Gannon's was chicken.
I love Ramaki, but it is not so kosher. But what about the egg
Egg
McMatzah?
McMatzah. So matzah, egg,
The
cheese.
ham
Yes.
on there.
But you
No.
wouldn't have any
No ham.
pork.
That's
yeah.
screwing it all up, kind of. Though you got the cheese.
All right, add the ham.
I like matzah for anything. You know, I think I might eat that. So I'll give you a kosher.
Love
on.
it.
I'd go with kosher.
Here's an easy one. Famous Dave's Barbecue. Grant?
Oh, for Famous Dave's?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, kosher for sure.
Gentile Ben, everybody.
G-Man,
Yes.
that would be not kosher.
Well, for me,
Well, right.
Gentile Ben, it's
I
kosher
suppose,
for
yeah,
me.
okay.
Technically, you know, but I've seen a lot of Jews coming in and out of famous days.
Okay, we
so.
do.
Probably.
Shabbat dinner.
Exactly.
Shabbat
Just like Rudolph's, you know, you used to see all the Jews at Rudolph's or at the
They were
Chinese
beef
restaurant.
though, so
eating
we could get
spare
away
ribs.
with it, right?
Right.
Yeah, they were beef.
Okay, you could say market barbecue though. Those are pork, most of them. right?
Yeah.
How about this one? Monster energy drinks. Monster energy drinks. You see them. Oh, well, go figure. The only one in the studio sporting one is Grant, everybody.
Yes.
So
Kosher.
kosher for Grant.
I think that's fair.
Have you ever
You.
had one? Have you,
Yeah.
I'm kind of afraid. I'm kind of scared. It's
No,
going-
I mean, there have been some Sundays where I've had my kids and I had a gig the night before, and that's when I may resort to like a, you know, Red Bull or a Monster,
Ooh.
you know, where it just like I physically cannot get the energy that
I'm
I
with
need.
you.
Boy,
So that's leading a double
better
life.
than speed, I suppose.
Well, I don't.
it's the millennium speed, is what it is.
Okay,
Pretty
how
much.
about bowling shirts? Just bowling shirts. Kosher or not so kosher?
I don't think bowling shirts would be kosher, but bowling's definitely kosher.
You think bowling is
Interesting.
kosher?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Well, because of all
Bowling.
those.
I know 4 Jews who bowl.
Jeff Klein.
Yeah,
one.
John Kavaznik.
Marnie
There's a ton.
Safi.
Mike
I
Kavaznik.
I think
There's
of a
the
certain
Jewish team.
generation, there are Jewish bowlers.
The
yeah.
B'nai B'rith group.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's it then, right?
But the bowling shirt, that might be a little
Over the
This
top.
almost seems like a Lenny Bruce like thing, where it's goyish or not goyish. You know,
Right, exactly. Lenny Bruce, that's a
He
great,
used to classify. He had a list
Like
where he
that.
classified
Yes.
stuff as.
Ooh.
So
brilliant comic.
Interesting.
Broke the mold for everybody back then. Okay, here's a trifecta, kosher or not so kosher. We're going to start with cream of mushroom soup.
Whoa.
no,
You're saying no.
it's too upper Midwestern for casseroles
Nasty.
and things that have ham in them.
Which would be number 2, cream of mushroom soup with green beans. Grant?
Yeah, I mean, I
Look.
Hell yes.
Grant's
I'm getting like wet over
he's
here.
in heaven
He's
again.
getting
Check
wet.
him out.
I did grow up eating some of that, so I don't want to sound like
Tater tot
Mr.
hot dish with that cream of mushroom soup.
Whoa.
Green beans.
Whoa.
Yes.
Don't.
Oh, what about you get the little onions? You know the
Lipton
the,
onion
the
or
crunchy ones
crunchy
from
onions.
the can.
Le-
put on
Larry?
top of
Yes.
the green beans.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
That's the best part,
Yeah.
right?
That I do
Comfort-
have a soft
Minnesota
spot
comfort
for.
food.
Yeah.
All right, cream of mushroom soup over baked chicken.
That I just don't care for.
That's my favorite thing
Yes.
my mom makes.
Really?
Mom
makes it too.
Oh my!
gosh,
I
you
knew I
guys.
loved you.
Oh my God.
I guess it's almost like chicken marsala or something. You got the mushrooms,
True.
you know.
Good
so.
stuff, by the way. If you're ever at Buka, and
Yeah, I
hopefully
love.
they'll-
That's my favorite one.
Chicken marsala from
I love
Buka.
chicken
Yeah.
marsala.
Well, that's all I have, you guys. That was a
Well,
great
you
job.
know, Dan, thank you
This has
so
been a
much
blast.
for being here. I can't even
for
tell
having
you
me.
how happy we are about it. We can't wait for your release of Dan.
Yeah.
Your
it's gonna
13th
be,
album.
This
the big-
one's going to be huge.
It's gonna
This
be
is
huge.
the one.
The big CD release
Yeah,
party,
this is
December
the
4th,
one.
3331 Club
Yep.
in Northeast.
Yep.
It's going to be amazing. There's
People-
no cover charge.
No
it's
cover.
so
They
Jewish.
just come and give us your money
yeah,
anyway.
But I heard you're going to have like a 5-gallon one of those 5-gallon
Tip jar.
glass jars.
That's right.
As a tip jar.
That's right. We're going to try to
and you
fill
only
that
take
up.
bills because the coins are too heavy.
Whatever people, any
Yep.
kind of currency. Checks.
Okay.
Checks are
Ooh,
accepted.
see, paper, see.
Yep.
Yeah.
And DanIsraelMusic.com is my
Awesome.
website. I meant to mention that as well.
Perfect.
If you go on YouTube and like search for Dan Israel, you'll find a lot of videos and
we'll
you
have
can
it.
entertain yourself for hours.
We'll
or
put it up
minutes
on
at least.
notsokosher.net. I'll put up all
Cool.
your information too. So
Cool.
Great. Everybody, we're going to play you out right now with track number 2, Be With Me. Thank you so much, Dan Israel.
you so
guys,
much.
thank you,
Thanks
and
for
we
having
will
me.
be back. Thank you. You can talk.
Nice.
Okay.
Excellent.
That was fun.
Oh my God.
I hope it
Dan,
was
thank
a little
you.
different than the current.
It's
you know
totally
what I mean?
different. It's actually much better.
Oh, that was great.
This was fun.
Give
Thank
myself
you.
a little bit.